This is Paul's trucking journey. A lot of you guys know that I got my CDL and I went to a company called Melton Truck Lines. And I just got home a few days ago with my own truck after 6 weeks of training. I've been gone 7 weeks from the house. But before I tell you how all that training went, let's go back 50 years ago. I'm 54 right now, and ever since I was 3 or 4 years old, I was pushing little trucks through the house, hauling loads on little toy big rigs, and always wanted to drive a truck. So went to college, got jobs, was a mechanic, never did trucking. And then I started driving a bus for University of Wyoming. Drove a bus for 7 years, got hired on to drive a school bus. Did school buses for several years, and then I started mechanicking again. All the time, I wanted to be a big rig driver, a real Class A CDL, but I also had kids and I wanted to be home for the kids. So I entertained myself, did some driving with a Class B license, and then decided, hey, let's get a Class A. So I had a really nice job, and I still wanted a Class A, and I decided, let's go to Class A school. They started offering, at a local community college here, started offering night classes. And I decided, well, heck, I can keep my nice job. I'll go get my Class A at night and see what happens. Don't have to lose a job. Maybe I get a cool trucking job. So April, 5-6 months ago, I went for 5 weeks, every night, 6 days a week, to Class A CDL school. And I got my Class A CDL, and I was very proud, almost had tears in my eyes, and I actually really loved it. And it was very difficult, the driving, the testing. We had to drive with 10 speeds, like a real 10 speed with a clutch, so I don't have any restrictions on my license. I found the driving and the backing very difficult, more so than I imagined. So I finished that, and I decided, let's give it a try, So I started looking. I'd been looking at companies for years, and I got a call back. I applied to several places, and I got a call back from Melton Truck Lines. They're based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they're a flatbed company. Well, I got several calls back, but that was what I wanted to do, was over the road. So I decided, heck, let's give them a shot. So I turned in my notice, worked another month or so, the job I had, and then I was like, heck, let's go trucking. So that's the story I'm going to tell you. I wanted to tell you guys, my Class A CDL school, I went to Laramie County Community College. Every place has a community college. It's about $5,000. It could have been free if I took a job in Wyoming. They had a program where the state's trying to hire, CDL drivers for free training to keep people working in the state. Well, I went out of state, so I have to pay that back. But luckily, Melton, most big companies, major carriers, will give you a tuition reimbursement. So I'll get that tuition reimbursement, but it's going to take 3 years to pay that loan back. I recommend going to a school and paying up front, because if you decide to go to Swift or Schneider, some of the big carriers have training programs. Once you go to school, you're going to owe a year or two of driving to these guys. And what happens if, first off, maybe you don't like driving? Because I'm telling you, it's not all fun and games out there. It's real hard work. I found out it's really hard work. It's not as fun as, sometimes you would think it would be. And what happens if you get a bad manager, or they make you do teams? Some of the companies make you do teams for 6 months or 9 months. That's the team, is where you're driving with another dude in the truck. I mean, I had a hard time dealing with another guy for 3 weeks. Can you imagine 6 months or 9 months working with another guy to pay off your loan? So I'd say, guys, just go out, charge it, get a loan, do whatever you got to do. Pay the school, then go get you a job. Somebody's going to hire you. You can get hired on local also. I got a couple of really nice local offers. I just decided to go try over the road. Right? So here's my breakdown of Melton orientation and training. Why did I choose Melton? Well, First off, I got callbacks from, well, I only got callbacks from 3 over-the-road companies because the economy, the way it is, they've slowed down their hiring, all right? And Melton had higher ratings. And the one thing Melton does that I couldn't find on anyone else unless you had a year or 2 experience, they bank home time. So how trucking works, mostly how it works, you're out for a week. So every 7 days you're out, you get a day home. It's over the road. You're not home. You don't go home for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Then you get to go home for 3 or 4 days. You get a day for every week. Well, the other major carriers only want you to go home 3 or 4 days at the most, and they start complaining at you, they're going to take your truck away, right? Melton, if you have home time banked, if I stay out 3 months, as an example, that's why I took it. I took the job at Melton. If I stay out 3 months, that's 12 weeks. Technically, I should get 12 days off, and Melton is perfectly fine me parking that truck, taking the 12 days off. All right. To me, to be able to travel more, that's that was the big seller for Melton. They don't advertise that a lot, but to me, that's a huge seller for Melton is this banked home time. What else do they do? Well, they hire new CDL A holders. When you get your CDL Class A, insurance-wise, a lot of companies do not want you unless you have 6 months or a year experience. So you got to go to beginner companies and work at a lower pay rate, 6 months or a year. Then your pay rate will go up. You're talking high 30s, averages in the 40 of thousands, maybe in the 50s of $50,000s of dollars the first year. Well, Melton, a little bit higher pay because it's flatbed. I'll talk about that a little more. You can expect the upper 50s to maybe mid 60,000 if you can work and stay moving. All right, and I didn't know if that was going to be true. I figured maybe mid 50s, you know. But after seeing how it works, the economy, you know, stays okay or mediocre, I believe, you know, upper 50s to maybe mid 60s. Some people make more, some people make less because they don't work as hard. But I believe it's attainable. That's okay for me. That's perfectly fine. And later on in the years, it just keeps going up. Well, it's flatbed. I'm starting at 52 cents a mile. All right, so every mile I drive 2,000 miles, times that times 52 cents. That's what I get for that week. All right, you can do the math. I liked Melton too. I didn't think about this when I went, but they're a second chance company. So guys who have maybe been in jail, had a lot of guys who've been in jail, they need a second chance. Everybody needs a second chance. I believe in that. And these guys are hard workers and good guys, and Melton gave them a chance. And I've seen some of these guys doing really well now. That's great, you know. It's great for these guys. They make a lot of money, support their family. So I like the second chance aspect of that. You just got to be honest with these guys. Melton's big on honesty. Another reason I liked them was most people start a beginning company, let's just say Swift or CR England, and they plan, I'm just going to do 6 months. I'm just going to do a year and I'm out of there. Well, with Melton, yeah, I can do that. I can go 3 months, 6 months, or a year and split. But I can also stay, and my pay rate is going to go up with Melton to where I don't have to change. I don't have to go through this whole thing of orientation, applications, you know, new driver managers. I can actually grow with this company and be perfectly fine from, you know, mid $60,000 a year and traveling a lot or busting my butt, and people are making 120, 130,000. I can't work that hard, but maybe I make 70, 80. I'd be perfectly fine with that. 60 if I get to travel a lot too. Not just traveling, driving the truck, but, you know, traveling around the world. That's the reason. Those are the reasons I chose Melton. My experience with the recruiters with Melton was also top notch. I had not very good experience with several other companies and their recruiters, but the Melton treated me with more respect than the other companies. Always called you back, easy to get in touch with them. answered all the questions. I really didn't have any problems with the Melton recruiters, and I actually got to meet them on graduation day. So that was pretty neat getting to meet your recruiter. But I felt the recruiting process was top notch for these guys. All right, so how Melton orientation works. So here's how it works. They start an orientation class every Monday, every single Monday. So I set my orientation up for July 10th. It was a Monday. They flew me out to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Got there Sunday. They pick you up at the airport. You got Ubers, they got shuttles. You just got to be tech savvy to figure some of this stuff out. Take you to a couple of hotels they use. They use a place called the Sure Stay Hotel, Sure Stay Inn. And I was lucky enough to get overflowed to the Holiday Inn Express. I got overflowed because there's so many people to the Holiday Inn Express. I was lucky because Holiday Inn Express is really, really sweet, really nice place. The Sure Stay that they use, I think they probably call it the Sure Don't Want to Stay There. But anyway, some of the guys weren't very happy with that. And there's not a lot to do around there, not a lot of places to get food, long walk. But Melton helps you, shuttle you to places to get your groceries and things to help for the week you're in the hotel. But I got sent to Holiday Inn Express. Man, nice place. Outdoor pool, I could walk everywhere for food, groceries. Casino, I could walk. Hard Rock Casino, I could walk to. Nice into town there. I liked it. I had a great stay. The only bad part was I had a roommate. Everybody had roommates. So if you don't like the roommate situation, you don't have a roommate, you probably better go to local driver or something, because you're going to be stuck in a hotel with roommates. You're going to be stuck in a truck training 3 or 4 weeks with another guy, another dude, maybe a woman if you're a woman, I don't know. But you're going to have a roommate and another guy in the truck with you for 5 or 6 weeks of your life. Especially with Melton, that's a little short side. Some of the guys are much longer. That's hard. That's hard for somebody like me, 54, got my own place. Didn't want to have a roommate, but yeah, you can tough it out. So how does it work that Monday morning? July 10th, what did I have to do? I had to get my butt up. I only had 2 or 3 hours of sleep. Got up at 5:15, because the van is there to pick you up at 6 o'clock. And when they mean 6 o'clock, they mean they're out the door at 6 o'clock and you're carrying your food out. You get free breakfast there at the hotel. And another guy who's in his second week, he comes in and he picks you up and he takes you to the Melton place, which is about 2 miles away. All right, and you're shoveling food in as you're driving. You get to the Melton Operations Center. There's a week 1. This is called week 1 training. You get there and you walk into a classroom, and then a big bus pulls up with all the Sure Stay guys. We only had 5 or 10 people getting off the van. Sure Stay bus shows up at 30 or 40. So we had 59 people in my week 1 orientation class. I wasn't ready for that. All right, 59 people. You look around, they got a name tag for you and a little notebook for you. A big notebook with all the rules and all these papers. So you look around, find your spot, and you sit there. And you're going to sit there until about 6:55 when the trainers come in. You're going to train from 7 to 4. You get an hour for lunch. They're going to feed you for lunch. Some days it's great food. Some days it's meh. But hey, it's food. You ain't got to pay for it. Don't complain about free. You're going to have paper training day 1. A lot of paperwork. You're going to talk a lot. And then day 2, you're going to go for physicals. And these are drop your drawers cough physicals, guys. Like, I wasn't expecting that. Like, you know what I mean? So that was pretty simple. Make sure you're clean, right? Drug test, the hair follicle. Somebody always asks about that. I never had a hair follicle. So hair follicle is like, nobody knows. It's a secret. They're saying six months. So if you're going here, if you did drugs, tell the recruiter, and they're going to let you in. They're just going to say, don't come in for 6 months or don't come in for three months. They know people are doing marijuana or whatever else, but with our Class A's, you can't do it. You can't do any CBD oils or anything, guys. You can't do it. And secondhand smoke, you just can't do it. And they're testing for it, and a lot of guys get kicked out for that. They find cocaine, methamphetamines. They test for pretty much everything. So we lost 3 or 4 guys to the drug test. So think about that. So we did this big drug test. All right, 50, 60 guys show up. Drug test, physical fitness, eyeballs, hearing, went over all your medical, looking at scars. So it's a DOT physical, and they're going to pay for your DOT physical. Should be good for 2 years. All right. Then we go back, and you got to do a physical fitness test for Melton. And I was scared because I had to pick up a 90-pound tarp and lift it up chest high and put it on a flatbed trailer. I don't go around lifting 90 pounds, guys. This is not something I do. So I went around to the grocery stores lifting 50-pound bags of dog food and 50-pound bags of rice. I went and lifted up 50-pound bags of rice. Then I put 2 50-pound bags together and was like trying to lift 100 pounds just to see if I could even do this before, why waste everybody's time. So I saw the tarp sitting on the ground. I snuck out there at lunch, and I lifted the tarp, put it on the bed, and kind of got practice doing it. I mean, and it was difficult. I'm not a big guy. I'm not the strongest guy. I'm kind of weak and kind of small. But I was able to do it, and they don't care if you're like doing your knee or whatever, just as long as you can do it. They want proper lifting. Funny thing is, they make you stand on 1 foot for 30 seconds. So if you have balance issues, one guy couldn't do it. I don't know if he got canned or what, but you got to stand on 1 foot and then the other, left foot, right foot for 30 seconds. So you got a balance test. Then you got to go out and you got to climb up on flatbed trailer, and they have a ladder climbing up on the big container box. So you end up being 13 feet off the ground. So if you can't climb a ladder, if you can't climb up, get your fat butt up on the trailer without a ladder, then you got to go climb up a ladder, and you got to stand up on the 13-foot container. If you're afraid of heights, or you can't do it, or if you're too big, don't go flatbed. That reminds me, they also asked me what your weight is. They have a 350-pound weight limit because the bunks, the top bunk on the trucks, can only hold 350 pounds. So if you're a big boy, bigger than that, you can't do it. All right, some of the guys were 300 pounds. So I don't know how they fit, because I barely fit in the top bunk as it was, and I'm tiny. Day 3, we start securement. They're going to teach you how to roll a tarp, unroll a tarp, roll it. You got to do that 2 times. You're going to start throwing straps. I want to show you guys all of this later on, all the fun stuff flatbedders do. We got to throw straps. We get to play with the chains. A lot of heavy stuff. I mean, throwing a strap to me was difficult because of my, it's like throwing a really heavy ball right here. You can hurt your rotator cuff. So you got to learn a technique for that. The chains themselves, 20 pounds. So you're lifting these guys up, putting them through spools and coils, and the main problem we had in July in Oklahoma, if you can imagine, it was 98, 100, 102 degrees with 90% humidity. So it was very hot. It was always a battle. The heat was a constant battle. And it took out guys. We lost some guys just to the heat. People just walk off. They're like, forget this. I ain't doing it. I'm going to go drive a box truck. So during the first week securement, you get put in a group. At both weeks of training, I had good groups. The group can make or break it. And you're working with all sorts of people. You got all races, all nationalities, smart, educated people who probably didn't even graduate junior high. All sorts of people. Mostly everybody was nice. Melton's a big thing on people being good, good character. So Everybody is pretty nice, but you're working with all sorts of people, all different races. If you don't work well like that, then maybe don't even come to trucking, because there's all sorts of people working here. Day 4, I believe it was, day 3 or 4, we started doing road tests. And that means you go with an instructor and 2 or 3 other trainees, and you drive around Tulsa. And the instructor is, these are automatic trucks. You don't have to shift any gears, so don't worry about that. The trainer, it's pretty easy. He's just like, go out here and pull right, turn right, get on the interstate, take this exit. He expects you to read some signs, because he'll tell you 2 or 3 miles away, I want you to take exit 25, going to, westbound 37 or northbound 37 or something. And he's not going to say it again. You got to see it, and you got to take that exit. He'll do that several times to see if you're paying attention. You got to read your signs. You got to come to complete stops at the stop signs, at the red lights or the traffic signals. If it was red and I couldn't, he's going to make you make those right turns where you can't turn if a car is in the turning lane. I just waited. I said, I ain't going. It might be green, but I can't make that turn, because you got to go on the other lane, because if you hit the curb, you're out. And the second you hit that curb, they're just going to send you home. So I just waited. I waited through a whole light until I could get through. It being Oklahoma, people are understanding of big rigs, and they'll back up that turning lane and give you room to turn. And then you go to a truck stop, and you'll pull through the fuel aisle, take a break, go pee, switch drivers, and it's about 10, 15 minutes you get. You get about 10 or 15 minutes of driving freeway and 2 lanes, or interstate and 2 lanes. So it wasn't too hard. I mean, it was nerve-wracking. It's just like taking another CDL A test. No backing. We didn't do any backing though. Just forward straight driving in traffic, interstate, 2 lanes. So not too stressful. Just pay attention and read the signs. At the end of the week, on Friday, we graduated. We lost 4 or 5 guys. Some people just said, forget it, too hot, didn't want to lift stuff. A couple of guys failed the drug test right away. They got sent home. So we ended up going with low 50s, I guess, graduated, and got to move to a new hotel. We also, the funny thing, we got paid $450 cash. They walked around with envelopes of $450, 4 $100 bills, and a 50. He handed it to you. You signed for it. Yes. What the heck are you going to do with $450 cash, right? So I spent 2 or 3 hours trying to figure out how to get it in a bank. And everybody else was doing the same thing. Some guys didn't even have a bank though. They just did cash. But here you are with 50 guys you don't know, wandering around with all this cash. So that was kind of interesting, to say the least. But I figured it out, went to Walmart, bought a money order, scanned it into my phone, learned how to do the phone banking, bam, in the bank, all right? So that was kind of entertaining. When you graduate on the Friday, they're gonna tell you, bring all your stuff to the training area Saturday morning. They're gonna move you to the Hampton Inn. So those of you who went to the Sure Stay Inn, that's a big move up to Hampton Inn. Well, us that were spoiled at the Holiday Inn Express, the Hampton wasn't a big move. Actually, it was a little lower. But that's okay. Hampton Inn is where it's at. That's where you're going to do week 2. And whenever you come back into Tulsa, for whatever reason you don't have a truck, you're going to the Hampton. Lots of food, groceries, the casinos across the street. I was able to walk into Catoosa, see some history, little scooters you can rent. So Ubers are everywhere. So it's not a bad place to be. And they got breakfast that goes to 10 or 11 o'clock. So you're set for food there. Week 2, we have a roommate again. All right. We all had roommates again. I ended up having the same roommate just because it was easier that way. So week 2 starts Monday morning, and you move to another building. All right. You got a big bus that comes and gets you. I think you start a little later. They don't get picked up till 7 o'clock. So instead of 6 o'clock, you get to be picked up at 7 o'clock. So get a little extra hour to sleep. All right. Week 2 consists of logbooks. You're going to do paper logs. They're very serious about logbooks. They canned 5 guys on logbooks that I actually saw them get rid of guys because of the logbooks. If you don't take the paper logbook seriously, they're going to get rid of you. They also, I forgot to tell you, they also have a reading and comprehension test to make sure you can speak and read English. A couple of guys actually got kicked out because of that. And it consisted of reading a ticket order, just like you would get over your Qualcomm, saying, go here, pick up this, do this many, this is the address, this is the weight, this is how many straps, chains, binders, special instructions. You got to be able to read that. And a couple of guys couldn't answer the questions correctly, so they got canned for that too. That's just the way it is, I guess. You're going to secure 7, 8 loads, maybe 10 loads. I can't remember the loads. You got real loads. You have to secure them 100. You break them all the way down. You got to secure them, and you got to tarp every load. Yes, you got to tarp every load, and there's no forklift for the tarps. So your team, you're putting the tarps up there, and this is where it gets really hard. I thought week 1 was hard. Week 2 is even harder. All right, and me personally, I physically had a very difficult time with the work, mentally and physically. It was very difficult. I'm not fat. I'm not out of shape. I just found it just so tiring and a lot of heavy lifting. I'm not strong enough, but I survived. Had a good team, and you don't have to, be perfect. You can just get it done. It just takes me longer. I get better at it. It was hot, and if it's cold, it's going to be cold. If it's wet and raining, you're going to work out in the rain. The only time we stopped was because of lightning. Other than that, we are out. We're getting wet. You're going to be cold. You're going to be snowed on. It's going to be 100 degrees during week 2 for us. 102 degrees, 103 degrees. Terrible heat. Debilitating. But we actually lost one of my group. He had to quit. He gave up. He couldn't do the heat. So we lost more people just because of the workload and the heat. They said, forget it, I ain't doing it, right? And so the seats are all full, and then all of a sudden, you don't know who they are. The seats start emptying out. And finally you look around, about Wednesday on the 2nd week, you realize there's only like 40 guys left. You don't know where they went. Then you talk to the van driver, and you realize the van driver's not in his group. He's driving people to the airport because, to get flown back home. So because they got kicked out for whatever reason. You have to do another driving test. It's on there's a big concrete pad with a 45-degree back, and it's like an angle back, 45-degree angle back. I'd never done that. There's a 90-degree back and a straight back, and just a course with stop signs and tight curves. And these are spread axle trailers. I'll show you that later. But it's a spread axle trailer. It doesn't turn like a regular trailer you're probably trained in Class A CDL on, or if you're a van driver, it's harder. It's difficult. So the first round I did, I got a truck that bucked, and it's an automatic, transmission clutch, but it was bucking like, 6 inches or a foot. It looked terrible, and I had a hard time. I looked terrible. And they say you can get out as much as you want. You can pull up as much as you want. But if you pull up or if you get out, they don't like it. So, but if you hit something, if you hit a barrel, you're just gone. And we lost 5 guys because of that. They hit a barrel, you're gone. So I guess it depends on how you take it. They give you a second chance. You screw it up again, you're gone. But they're trying to get rid of people, trying to keep the good people. So I went and did it once, didn't know how I did. I didn't hit anything, but it wasn't pretty. The guy seemed frustrated. But I don't know, I wish we had more backing practice. It would have been nice. But I got called back the next day to do it again. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to fail because of this. But this time I got a truck that the clutch was smooth. And I did everything, you know, at least a B. I got at least a B on that grade. So I did better the second round, but they did actually get rid of another one of my buddies that I made friends with. They got rid of him on that second round. So they got rid of three guys on that second round that I went with. So they were getting rid of people because they couldn't back or drive correctly. And it ended up, they all did hit a barrel. So don't hit a barrel. So end of the second week, we were down to mid-30s of people in the class. Started off with 59. By Saturday, we were down to 30-something people. Friday, I think they gave us our cards and our name tags. And so I want to say we were officially employees then, because they actually canned people right after lunch on Friday. And then after that, they got rid of those guys. Then they gave us the cards and a comm data card, and they had loaded cash on our comm data cards. So that was how you got paid again. I want to say $450 was on the comm data card. And Saturday on that second week, you got off at 12 or 1. I want to say 12 or 1 right after lunch. You're good to go. And you went back to the hotel room, and they told you Monday morning, show up for graduation ceremony and with all your stuff, because you're going to be getting on a trainer truck. Monday, when we got back for our graduation ceremony, was getting t-shirts, getting hats. We got to meet all these office people. They gave us, you know, speeches about health, and you signed up for your insurance on that Monday, and you got to meet your recruiter. That was pretty fun. And then you got sent out, some people got sent out that day. So there's some trainer trucks ready, and people, we got lunch, and then they says, all right, so come with me. And they sent 5 people on airplanes to wherever to meet their trainers. 5 or 10 trainers were at the terminal. And then guys, we had 7 guys, I want to say 7 guys who already had training, who'd driven trucks for a couple of years, and they got sent out to get their own trucks. They went to Birmingham, Ohio, down to Texas to pick up their own trucks. So we're left with 5 or 6 of us sitting there waiting on our trainer trucks. So that was when I got my own hotel room for 2 days. It was pretty nice. But anyway, this is the end of the orientation at Tulsa, the orientation training facilities in Tulsa for Melton. The next video, I'm going to hit on what I did for my 3 weeks or 21 days of driver training and on a trainer's truck. All right. Thank you.